Peduto Small Business and Neighborhood Redevelopment Manager. I'm very pleased to welcome County Executive Richard Fitzgerald to this podium to make a very important and exciting announcement about next year here in Pittsburgh. Thanks.
Thank you, Henry. And first of all, I want to appreciate the mayor and mayor's staff and the work that they've done to do this. And the announcement I guess we're making is that the Main Street Now Conference has selected Pittsburgh and Allegheny County of the site of its 2017 national conference. It's going to be held next year from May 1 to 3 at the Wyndham Hotel. And this is a great conference. Yeah, that works. Absolutely. And the conference is a product of the National Main Street Center, which was established in 1980 as a program of the National Trust for Historic Preservation to encourage preservation-based community revitalization. And we see a lot of that happening here in Allegheny County. And I see some of our folks that are here, Pat Early, Deputy Director of Economic Development from the county. But I also going to introduce a pretty special guest in a little bit. We're always glad we get special people come from Harrisburg. We got the big shots coming today. But the Main Street Conference attendees, they include professionals in preservation-based economic development and community revitalization, experienced and new downtown and neighborhood Main Street directors, volunteers, architects, planners, economic development professionals, elected officials, volunteers, and consultants. And this will be 3 full days of learning and networking opportunities, mobile workshops where attendees learn from revitalization successes and challenges in our host city and surrounding Main Street communities. The expo hall will be filled with product and service providers specializing in commercial district revitalization and opportunities to network, which a lot of these conferences obviously are big on how folks can learn from each other, experiences they're having. We are looking forward to this because of our Allegheny Together program that we began back in 2007. We've had 12 of our 130 municipalities who have participated in this program, with 8 of the 12 having graduated. Those are Bridgeville, Elizabeth, Stowe, Tarentum, Verona, Swissville, Coriopolis, Bellevue, Aspinwall, Carnegie, Dormont, and Homestead. Nearly $7 million has been invested by Allegheny County into these communities, with over 1,500 businesses supported, 500 new businesses in these revitalized Main Street corridors, and over 3,000 jobs created. And the person I'm going to introduce next knows it better than anybody because he was the one who created it and was part in making sure that that happened. And the thing he did with Allegheny Together here in our region and revitalizing the communities that I talked about has been so instrumental in some of the growth that you've seen in this region right now, and also how it is spreading out into communities that did not have development before. I joke that we have a big shot, but he is a big shot. But he was one of ours for a long time. And he did a great job as Allegheny County Director of Economic Development. Now he's doing it for Governor Wolf as the Secretary, DCED Secretary in Harrisburg. We're always delighted when Dennis Davenport comes back to town. Mr. Secretary, welcome to the podium.
Thanks. Thank you, Rich. I appreciate that. And we are absolutely pleased to hear that the National Main Street Center selected Pittsburgh as the site of its national conference in 2017. No surprise. I mean, it's just a great opportunity for Pittsburgh. We are sure that between County Executive Fitzgerald, Mayor Peduto, that they will take great strides to show off the city and show off the place where Lord Stanley's Cup resides. And I know the date is in May, but certainly if it was in June, July, or August, I think you could still show them Lord Stanley's Cup. So that's just a challenge to the Penguins as we go forward. So I think, again, as Rich said, it'll be a terrific opportunity to showcase the region, the small towns throughout the county, and also throughout southwestern Pennsylvania. So Pennsylvania's Main Street program is part of the Keystone Communities program that is through the Department of Community and Economic Development that's helped to revitalize downtowns, residential neighborhoods, and industrial sites throughout Pennsylvania. The interesting thing about this is every dollar that we invest in these Main Street communities leverages an average of $18. So it's a great opportunity, it's a great leverage amount, and it really goes to show you that it means great things for areas that it's utilized. So we have in Pennsylvania more than 150 communities that have been part of the Main Street, and 35 that are currently accredited as Main Street programs by the National Center. Here in Allegheny County, we have Mount Lebanon, Castle Shannon, Wilkinsburg, Sewickley as part of the program. And throughout the region, towns like Butler, Greensburg, and Latrobe are also part and have seen the benefits of Main Street. So we are, DCED and Pennsylvania are proud partners with the Pennsylvania Downtown Center that has done just a tremendous job in developing main streets and opportunities and coming to us and looking for resources that they need and towns throughout Pennsylvania need desperately. So we look forward to continuing to work with them and are happy, very happy that they're part of this. And now I am very happy to introduce a good friend of mine. I'm old, she's not old. So we've been friends a long time, not old. But Valerie McDonald, who is the Chief Urban Affairs Officer for the City of Pittsburgh. Valerie.
He was correct the first time. I embrace it, and I'm fine with that, Dennis. Again, I want to, on behalf of the mayor who is out of town today, I just want to congratulate the city of Pittsburgh and all of the parties, the external and internal partners that are part of this area to bring in such an important conference that represents exactly the direction that the mayor has taken. In his administration, he enacted the Bureau of Neighborhood Empowerment, which I am chief of, and we have deputy chiefs and managers. Henry Pyatt is the manager within that area of the mayor's office to do exactly why this conference is here, do exactly what is intended, is to build our communities in terms of Main Street. You know, I live in a loft apartment, and I love downtown living, I love North Shore living, I love the Strip District living, but you know what? As much as we commend the development within our downtown and our connecting corridors, that's not where the masses live. The masses live in communities. And this conference hits on exactly what the mayor wants to do, is to serve the underserved, to reconnect to our communities and to connect communities to one another. In order to build equity, and in order to build adequacy within all of our structure, not just the city of Pittsburgh, but the greater Pittsburgh area, we do have to connect the dots. And the one thing in connecting the dots is developing our main streets. And I'm very proud to be working with Pittsburgh History and Landmarks Foundation in developing Main Street in a community that I grew up in Wilkinsburg. But I'm not going to take your thunder, Art. Okay, I'm just going to hit on it and leave. Okay, thank you. But again, it is with excitement that this conference is here because, again, it represents what Mayor Peduto wanted for the city, is to build communities in all facets. So I congratulate all of the people who were part of landing this conference and looking forward to seeing it next year. Thank you, Henry, for helping with this. County Executive just told me I am to introduce a very important person who is here in Pittsburgh. Ms. Patrice Fry, who is the Executive Director of National Main Street Center.
Well, good afternoon. It is such a pleasure to be with all of you on this happy occasion. We are delighted to be co-hosting with the Pennsylvania Downtown Center the Main Street Now conference next May. Pittsburgh, you all know this, Pittsburgh is a world-class city. You have an incredible story of transformation to share with the country, to share with the world. We're really excited to bring our practitioners, our network of practitioners here to see and experience that story of transformation for themselves. I especially want to thank the Governor Wolf, for his support of the conference, the Secretary Davin, for his support as well as Bill Fontana and Larry Newman with the Pennsylvania Downtown Center for making this conference possible. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about the conference. This brings about 1,500, upwards of 1,500 folks, professionals focused on downtown revitalization, and cities of all sizes from just about every state in the country will descend on Pittsburgh in May to learn more about your work here. The Main Street America Network, this is the single largest conference of our network annually, and this is a group that really has its roots in focusing on the transformation of older and historic buildings in our neighborhood commercial districts and our downtowns. So you can imagine why we're so excited to be here in Pittsburgh, because you all have a really terrific record of valuing and putting back into active use these wonderful historic resources in your midst. A couple of other things I wanted to share with you, and Valerie, I think, touched on this a bit. This network works with some of the most disinvested, distressed areas in the country, and I think they have a terrific record of achievement in terms of attracting investment and really encouraging community participation in this process. In the last 30 years, we've seen investment in our Main Street communities north of $65 billion. We've seen over 260,000 buildings, older and historic buildings, put back into active reuse in these communities. We've seen over 550,000 net new jobs created, and we've seen over 125,000 net new businesses. Now, here in Pennsylvania, in the last year alone, with thanks to the terrific leadership from the folks at the Pennsylvania Downtown Center, we saw 1,100 net new jobs created, 139 net new businesses, 267 rehabilitation projects, and this is in the 47 communities that currently participate in Pennsylvania's program. I think that's a terrific record of achievement, and we're really excited to showcase that to folks when they arrive here in Pittsburgh. Now, one secret to the success of the work of our folks in Pennsylvania and the work of this network nationally, and that is that no single project can transform a downtown or can transform a neighborhood commercial district. What we really work on at the center is transforming the entire community, creating an investment, creating the circumstances in which more investment will take place, in which communities can really thrive. That means focusing on design, it means focusing on promoting and marketing our districts, and of course it means focusing on getting that right mix of businesses and cultural institutions and the all-important housing downtown. So you can expect to see a range of courses and mobile sessions at our conference in May that will focus on those issues. I think we're particularly excited to highlight some of the very strong public-private partnerships that we see here in Pittsburgh. I think that's a real model as we look at community revitalization across the country. We're particularly excited to take folks on tours of the Penn Avenue Cultural District, East Liberty, and I think the Lawrenceville neighborhood, which I'm particularly excited to see. So come out and join us in May. We have a lot of hard work to do between now and then, but it's going to be a terrific event. And again, thank you for making this possible, and we're delighted to be here with you over the next year and in May of 2017. Oh, yes. It's an epidemic. Okay, so I am delighted to introduce Larry Newman, who is the chair of the board with the Pennsylvania Downtown Center. Thanks for being here.
Good afternoon, everyone, and on behalf of the membership, the board, and the staff of the Pennsylvania Downtown Center, which is the statewide nonprofit that supports the revitalization of the Commonwealth's core communities, I'm here to express our sincere gratitude to Patrice and the National Main Street Center for selecting Pittsburgh to host the 2017 National Main Street Conference. PDC's board and staff are thrilled to have this opportunity to showcase our members' work for our peers from across the nation, here in Pittsburgh, in communities throughout southwestern Pennsylvania, and in towns and cities across the Commonwealth, which have embraced the Main Street approach to downtown and neighborhood revitalization. So 172 Pennsylvania communities, from East Carson Street on the south side to Easton at the confluence of the Delaware and Lehigh rivers, have participated in Pennsylvania's Main Street program since it began in 1980. During that time, Pennsylvania's participating Main Street programs have generated a net increase of more than 6,500 businesses, 17,650 full-time equivalent jobs, and more than $1.2 billion in total investment across the Commonwealth. And we believe these numbers to be very conservative. The organizations that do this work are often local nonprofits with very small staffs. They're largely dependent on volunteer boards and committees to do the hard work of community revitalization. As was said by some of our earlier speakers, this is truly grassroots work. During that same time frame, starting in 1980, local programs in Pennsylvania have generated in excess of 875,000 volunteer hours, or roughly 420 person years worth of time. That volunteer time is estimated at more than $9.2 million over that period. So we'd be remiss if we didn't recognize the incredible contribution made by these volunteers over the years in implementing local Main Street efforts. And I'd also like to thank Secretary Davin and Governor Wolf for their ongoing support of both the Main Street and Elm Street programs within the Commonwealth. DCD continues to support these local revitalization efforts despite recent budget challenges, and for that we are very appreciative. So thanks to all of you for taking the time to come here today. We look forward to working with DCD, the City of Pittsburgh, Allegheny County, the Urban Redevelopment Authority, the Federal Home Loan Bank of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania Historical and Museum Commission, PHLF, and all of our other local partners in making this the best Main Street Now conference in the history of the National Main Street Center. There's so much we have to show off and to discuss. We can't wait, and we hope to see all of you next May in Pittsburgh. And now I'd like to introduce Arthur Ziegler, President of Pittsburgh History and Landmarks Foundation.
Thank you very much. I'm supposed to deal with the history of Main Street here and do it in a couple of minutes. We started as an organization in 1964. We started in the North Side in Manchester. We worked in North Side. But around 1968, we were growing and we decided to take a look at South Side. There was a community rich in architecture, in good shape, except for one place, Carson Street. It was looking dingy and well-used formerly. We put together a program with the merchants, the building owners, and the real estate leasing community. We started out with 27 vacant storefronts in an unknown street. We decided that it's the longest Victorian shopping street in America, and that's how we promoted it. And we published a book with its original name called Birmingham back in 1969. It said how good the architecture is, how solid the people are, and here's how to restore it. Within a year, 27 vacant storefronts were restored. We bought a building, set a model, not only restored the first floor, but we put what are now called lofts upstairs. They all rented, and immediately the building owners, the developers came in, and Carson Street was completely revitalized. The person who really began Main Streets at the National Trust was Mary Means in the 1970s. She had never heard of Carson Street, but she soon heard of Pittsburgh and preservation. And a few weeks ago, when she heard this conference was coming to town, she wrote me a note. And she said, in 1973, I learned of the work in Pittsburgh. The city was the innovative leader, inventing important tools like revolving funds, complex financing approaches to renovate workers' housing at a larger scale. Your vision of preservation was huge. Your confidence in achieving it was inspiring. And we have now had the confidence to get involved in running Main Streets in 3 counties. And particularly, we're gratified that the county executive and Dennis Davin had us help operate the county program, which grew, as Rich said, from 2 to almost 15. The great thing that will happen at this conference is all these attendees from around the nation will go to see the first Main Street in the nation, touted as such, Carson Street, and what they will see 47 years later is a street that is still completely revitalized. Thank you.
First of all, I just want to thank all of our speakers. Patrice, thank you for bringing the conference here. We're going to have a lot of good learning that we will learn, sharing with each other. Valerie and Henry, thank you for your support, the cities and the mayor and Secretary Davin and Larry. And let me just finish up with Arthur. And we are so fortunate in this region to have the Pittsburgh History and Landmarks Foundation and all the work that they have done. And he talked about the history over 50 years and some of the things that are happening. And sharing Mayor Peduto's vision of Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh is a visionary place. We always look to the future. but we also preserve our past. And these Main Street programs allow us to do that, to maintain the great heritage and the great history that we have as we improve Main Street for the future generations. So with that, we're going to wrap up. If anybody has any questions for any of the speakers who are here today, we'll be glad to answer. Oh, I also want to recognize and thank John. Oh, there you are, John. You're hiding behind the speaker, the regional director for Governor Wolf of Community Affairs. So welcome back to Pittsburgh as one of us as well. So any questions from the media?